live here on Fairstream today for the YearUp Career Fair. We are super excited to be here. I just have a couple quick housekeeping things for those who are here. If you're in the chat, say hi, let me know where you're tuning in from so we can get some activity going on. We're so excited to have YearUp here. If you haven't completed your profile, please do that at some point today, just so the recruiters from these companies hosting info sessions have the most information about you so they can see all the cool things about you and hire you for a great job. And also do that to make sure that I know that you're from YearUp. So when you hit the home dashboard, you'll see a banner at the top that says complete your profile, and then you can put YearUp under your partner org, and you can make sure all your information is up to date for the recruiters as well. So to make sure your profile is complete for the day. And we will get it started here with Tejal in just a second. She is amazing. She is a LinkedIn top voice and a career coach that specializes in learning how to network with recruiters. So I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. So as Alicia said, my name is Tejal. I have been actually a recruiter for 7 years, and the career coaching stuff I do on this side. Mainly I just write on LinkedIn about job search, hiring, make it a little bit more transparent on what job seekers can do to increase their chances. So we're going to talk about how to network with recruiters. Here's the thing. Recruiters are probably your strongest advocate when it comes to job search. So the thing that most people don't understand about recruiters is that as a recruiter, my job, one of the key metrics that I am, what's the word I'm looking for? I am, compared to one of my key metrics of my job performance is how long does it take for me to fill the position. So with that being said, my job is to fill the position with the best qualified candidate as quickly as possible, right? I do not take pleasure in rejecting applicants. No recruiter I know takes pleasure in rejecting applicants. It's just part of our job. But when we do find somebody that is a 70 to 80% of the job fit match, for the most part, we send them forward. I send everybody forward that matches 70 to 80%. The way you can stand out and network with recruiters is by simply sending them a message on LinkedIn or email. And don't say things like, hey, my name is so-and-so. My name is so-and-so. I am looking for a job. Here's my resume. Please let me know if you have a job for me. That is not networking. That's asking somebody. Similar to when you go to buy a car and the car salesman just approaches like, hey, let me allow you to buy a car. Don't do that. Firstly, you want to go to the company's website and see if there are any jobs that matches your skill set. And I know it's a little bit hard when you're an entry-level person in the fields, like, well, how do I know? Look at the responsibility, the 3 to 5 responsibilities that they have listed, the top ones, and the qualifications. Again, 3 to 5, no more than that. And see as an entry-level or junior candidate, do you have the knowledge to do that job? If you do, go ahead and apply. That's the first thing you're going to do, is go ahead and apply. Once you've applied, that's when you're going to network with the recruiters, and just send them your resume and say, hey, Tejal, my name is John. I saw this position open, link to the position, and I went ahead and applied to the opportunity, and I would love to get your perspective on the company, what you're looking for. Please let me know if you have time this week or next week. And I would send, as a job seeker, I would send a follow-up message in 2 days and again in 5 days. Not barring weekends. Don't message recruiters on the weekends. We have a life. So that's what I would do. And I have seen that work a lot better for candidates that I have coached and candidates that have reached out to me than a candidate who's like, hey, here's my resume. Do you have a job for me? I might not. And I might not even respond because I get 100 messages every single day. Every recruiter that you reach out to, make the assumption that they get tens of messages every single day. So your job is to ensure that you are giving them everything that they need in order to ensure that they can see that you are qualified for the job you're applying to. So long story short, lots of words, just to say, hey, I saw this job is open at your company. I feel I'm qualified. Here's my resume. Do you have some time to talk to me about this? It sounds so simple. It really is that simple. When you send that and you follow up in 3 days and then again in 5 days, the likelihood of you getting a response is a lot higher. Every person that has sent me a similar message gets a response. And even if they don't have a job right now, they might have a job in a few weeks, a few months. If you're not qualified for this job, they might have another job that you might be qualified for. In recruiters, especially in smaller organizations, with less than 300, 500 employees, there's typically 1 to 2 recruiters, and they communicate all the time. Unlike FANG companies, which is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, where there are thousands and thousands of recruiters, and you don't know which recruiter to reach out to. In smaller organizations, there's typically only 1 to 2 recruiters. And if you reach out to them, and even if they are not recruiting for that position, they might be able to send your resume over to to the other recruiter, because we all have the access to the same applicant tracking system, and we can see who the recruiter is that is sourcing for that position. So I want to take the time, I know 7 minutes, and let you ask me some questions that you might have about networking with recruiters.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm back. I'm going to moderate the chat. So get your questions in the chat. We would love to hear what kind of questions you have for Tejal here. This is a question for me. Is the session being recorded and we'll have access to it later? Yes, you will have access to it later. It will be available on this page. You can come back and visit this for information again or any of that. So that will be available later. Any questions for Tejal? Because she's a wonderful resource and she can help you.
Yeah, even if you have questions about recruiting, what is an applicant tracking system? How does it all work? What does it all mean, Basil? Shoot them over.
Awesome. I'm going to start with a question. When it comes to like applicant tracking systems, what do you think people can do on their resume? Just like a couple easy things to kind of get through that system on top of reaching out to your recruiter.
Yeah, so here's the biggest myth about an applicant tracking system that I've seen with job seekers. An applicant tracking system does not reject your resume. It's a human being that rejects your resume. An applicant tracking system typically does not, like, AI is not advanced enough for us to use that. I mean, if you haven't figured out automated cars yet, nobody's pumping that much money into creating an AI-based ATS, right? So when you are thinking about writing your resume and catering your resume, you should look at the first 3 to 5 responsibilities in the job description and the 3 to 5 skills or qualifications that they're listing. That is what you're going to tailor your resume to. So if they're using some industry or even company specific words, you want to see if those responsibilities and skills are listed on your resume. I'm a tree killer, so I print out the job description and I have a copy of my resume and I highlight those things and see if they are on my resume when I've job searched in the past. And if they are not, I go in and I edit that and add that to make sure that we're speaking their lingo, because resumes are about communication and communication is about the other person.
Awesome. That is a great response. We've got a question from Sadiq. Should you apply even if you aren't fully qualified? So if you don't check every single box on a job listing, should you still apply?
So yes and no. I would say if you qualify, if you have 75% or more of the skills and qualifications, you should apply. The only time I would say that you need to meet 100% of the qualifications are government regulated companies that have government contracts and are under federal guidelines that say that they have to meet all of the skills and qualifications in order to be moved forward. So it's called Ofccp Compliance, and I just learned about it in the last year. So for those companies, for those big state government contracts, you have to meet 100% of the skills and qualifications. Anything else, 70% or more is more than enough.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so the for example, when I was looking at my current job, I didn't have 7 years of experience yet. I had 5.5, 6 years of experience. I still went ahead and applied because it's close enough, right? 5.5 and 6 is closer to 7 than it is not. But if I only had 1 year of qualifications, I would not apply to a job that is requiring 7 years of qualifications.
Perfect. We have a question here from Bianca. What is the best way to follow up with a recruiter? So is it LinkedIn? Is it an email? What is like the best method there?
Honestly, I would say email. And the best way to find out about a person's, especially a recruiter's email, we list our resume, emails on our LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to share my screen here and show you guys something because I have it up. So when you go to a person's LinkedIn profile and you look them up, you see this, where is it? Contact info right here. And it will tell you, typically recruiters that are hiring will list their emails right here. So for example, let me see, my friend Amy, she's gonna kill me, but Amy, her email, her Amazon email is right here. Recruiters will list their emails openly to public because we want you to email us rather than LinkedIn message because we get too many sales emails on LinkedIn. So right there.
So that is a super helpful tip. And now you know where to look for those emails. Let's see, we got a question from Stephanie. This group graduates at the end of July. When do you suggest they start applying for jobs?
Now. We're at the end of May now.
Yeah.
Because the average job search takes a few days to a few months. So depending on the organization, it could be within the next 2 weeks. It could be within the next few weeks, right? So there's a wide gap. I've had companies that I've worked for previously. We've hired somebody from the minute they applied till the offer, a week straight, done. Like just got them through the process and it was done within a week and we made the offer. I've also worked for organizations that have taken a few weeks to 2 months, 3 months. So start applying now and you can say, hey, this happens all the time, especially companies that hire new grads. They know that you can't start immediately. So you can say, I'm available for full-time work when the interview time comes in, come July.
Perfect. All right, let's see what else we've got here. We have a couple questions asking about if you don't have a degree and you are applying for jobs, how can you still stand out when you don't have a bachelor's degree or a master's or something?
Great question. So degrees, and I say this as a person currently going back to school for master's, are a wish list. Most organizations don't care if you have a degree or not. So if you don't have a degree, but you have the skills and qualifications, you have the education, you're totally fine to apply. The only way you're going to stand out, honestly, is, again, the only time you're going to get rejected for a degree are for companies like the Ofccp federal regulations company, or somebody's just a little bit of stickler of getting a bachelor's degree or getting a master's degree. I have met some very, very, very intelligent people, engineers and whatnot, that have never went to college. They graduated high school, they were coding in high school, they jumped right into getting a job. Super intelligent, super problem solving engineers that never went to college. Probably some of my best engineers that I've met. So especially in tech, degrees are now more of a, oh, it's nice to have, rather than, oh, you must have a bachelor's degree, because we clearly need to learn C++ that was valid 20 years ago. We don't care.
That's good. Don't feel like, don't hold yourself back just because you don't have a piece of paper. If you've got the skills, go for it.
Exactly.
Carol asked if your experience is at entry level and most jobs are asking for 3 years, is it still worthwhile to talk to recruiters before you have that higher level of experience when you're entering a field?
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in talking to recruiters about entry-level jobs. Here's the thing, most entry-level jobs are not coded as entry-level jobs. In my previous companies, I have refrained from using mid-level words like mid-level, senior, entry-level, just because I've had hiring managers hire people that they were really looking for somebody with 10 years of experience and hire somebody with 1 to 2 years of experience because that person was good, right? So if a job is requiring 3 years of experience, I would say, yeah, still go ahead and apply. But just be careful that, you know, I say this all the time to people, rejection is part of life. Don't let it get you down. If you get rejected from one job at one company, doesn't mean that the same company, a different manager and different recruiter is not going to hire you.
Cool. Let's see what else we've got here. We have a question from William. How should an applicant bring themselves into an interview and show their confidence?
Oh. So I joke about this all the time. I'm like, I always say fake it till you make it, but that really doesn't work, right? You don't want to be, so I've seen people like try to fake it and come across as arrogant. So what I typically recommend people do is Google most common interview questions on Google or Yahoo, Bing, whatever search. I typically go to Google. Google that, get that list, write those answers down or type them out. You know, if you're not a tree killer like me and don't have 10 different notebooks, type it out and practice them in front of the mirror over and over and over again, and record yourself. I know it's awkward. The first time is going to be awkward. The first 5 times it's going to be awkward, but keep recording and keep practicing it in front of the mirror until you have the answer and just start talking. The other thing I've recommended people do is get with a friend, a really good friend, and say, hey, here's a list of questions, interview questions. Can you ask me so I'm comfortable? Most friends are happy to do that level of service to you because you're friends. I have friends that come to me and are asking me resume questions. I'm guiding them through the job search process. I have no problem doing that. They're texting me all day, right? So most friends would be happy to do like a video Zoom interview or a Google Meet interview, whatever it be, and also in person now that most people are going in person. So
awesome. Tracy had a question. How do you find recruiters in a company? So if you see a job posting online, like on Glassdoor or LinkedIn or something, how do you find the recruiters within that company?
Okay, Tracy, do you have a specific company there that you're looking for?
We're a little bit delayed, so it'll take her a second. Okay. But we can ask another question. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to show you guys something. So this is going to be a little bit different for me than it will be for you guys, but the concept works similarly. So say you're looking for a company, I don't know, Tesla, right? We'll put in Tesla here. We'll click on the company automotive, can't talk today. And then we're going to go here. They have 42,680 employees. I'm going to click on this number because it's a hyperlink, and that will show you all of the people. Now you see this right here. You want to keep this here, and the connection level doesn't matter. Now we're going to type in all filters and then industry, first name, keywords, title, recruiter, and then click show results. This will show you the results of people at the company that have recruiter title at Tesla. And now you just start messaging them, connecting with them. Recruiters are typically open networkers, will accept anybody that applies. When you, let's say we're trying to connect with Aaron, when you hit this connect button, make sure to add a note. And this is where you will say, hey, I saw this position. Would love to talk to you about that. We talked about networking with recruiters. And also, typically in their summary, Aaron is not doing that. We won't call out Aaron. Let's see if Melanie does that. Yeah, typically they have a summary and they'll write which department they're interviewing or recruiting for. So again, my friend Amy that we had, you can tell that she's within Amazon, she works for Project Keeper, however you pronounce that. So that's what you'd do. You'd go on LinkedIn and find the recruiters that way. Again, easier to do it in smaller organizations than larger organizations, but you know, I would always recommend connecting with recruiters.
Yeah, and even if you connect with the wrong recruiter, they can possibly pass you on to the correct person. So that's a great way to look for.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We've got a question from, let's see. Got a question from Kashif. How do you differentiate real recruiters from those like spammy messages you get on LinkedIn of people that are just looking to hire someone for kind of a fly-by-night thing or yeah, something like that, where you get those kind of spammy recruiter messages on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so typically I would, and I've worked for agency, what you're talking about are agencies, third-party agency recruiters, and I've worked for agencies. And even back then, I have said this, the best way to figure out whether a recruiter is legit or not is to go to the company's LinkedIn page and find the recruiters from there. If they're not working for the organization or contracting through them, you will figure it out very quickly. Because even if you're contracting at an organization, especially if it's Microsoft or any of the FANG companies, that would be there. And the next thing I always say, I'm like, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it probably is a duck. So if you have a feeling in your guts, like, I don't know if this person is legit, you should probably move on and see if you want to, if you're willing to give it a shot, ask them. If they're sending you that email, ask them who the client is. As an agency recruiter, I've always told when candidates ask, like, who's the client? I'm like, this is the client. This is who we are recruiting for. If they're being skittish around that answer, they're probably not legitimate.
Awesome. Okay, we've got a couple questions about like various requirements from different recruiters, like what's your opinion on cover letters? Do you need that? Or some recruiters are more open to people that maybe have less experience or don't check all of the boxes. Is that really dependent on the recruiter, or is there kind of an overall attitude towards those things?
So typically, I would say, unless you are trying to explain a gap or a career change, cover letters are not necessary, especially if you're tailoring your resume properly and applying to the positions that you actually fit 70% or above qualifications for. I read the cover letters I receive. 90% of the time they're generic, they're templated. Sometimes they are not even addressed to the right company or the right person. I've had people misspell, instead of saying MSC solutions, they've said MTS solutions. And that's a red flag. It's like, did you actually do? So avoid, unless they specifically require you to have a cover letter, or you are trying to explain a resume gap, work experience gap, or a career change, cover letters are not necessary. They're nice to have. I think of it as like sprinkles on a sundae. They're nice to have, but you don't need sprinkles on a sundae to make it a sundae. And the amount of years of experience really is going to be dependent on the kind of company and the kind of hiring manager we have. It's not on us, it's on the hiring managers. When we do our meeting with the managers on the requirement, we ask, like, what is our leeway? Like, can I give you a 5-year candidate while we're looking for the 7 years? Are you comfortable seeing that. And some managers will say, yes, I'm comfortable seeing that. Other managers will be like, nope, not really. And there's no way for, and when they say that they're okay with the 5 years, I put 5+ years. Not all recruiters do that, but yeah, it really depends, unfortunately, on the company, the hiring manager, and the recruiter.
Perfect. So we've got a question from Maturo. When is the best time to talk about salaries with a recruiter?
First call. So I always empower the job seekers. I'm like, you have such little control in the job search process. This is one of the areas that you have control over. So what you're going to do as a job seeker is you're going to go to salary.com and figure out what the job that you're looking for, whether it's software engineer, project manager, Salesforce admin, whatever the title is, that the job that you're targeting, you're going to type in that job, you're going to type in your city and find out what compensation looks like in your geographical area. Then, even if the recruiter during the first call doesn't talk about the compensation, which they should, you'll say, hey, just ask them, what is the budget for this position? And they might say, oh, what are you looking for as far as a salary is concerned? Say, for this position, I'm targeting from whatever the amount is that you came up with from salary.com from your research. You're gonna say, for this position, I'm looking for this amount to this amount, but I'm negotiable based on benefits and all of these other things. Don't play a game of chicken. I just like when candidates are like, oh, well, I really don't know. I'm like, well, this is my budget. It's like, oh, that's like, I was looking for $40,000, like, but let's see what happens with the hiring manager say. I'm like, no, this is our budget. We're probably talking $5,000 extra, but nothing more than that. And then we play a game of chicken when I don't like playing a game of chicken. I'll tell you what the budget is. Tell me what you're targeting. Let's move on. Let's have a number, because this is your livelihood. Like, you have bills to pay. You need money. Like, don't leave it up to them. I always say this to people when they are like, oh, I don't know. Tell me your budget. I'm like, just give me your numbers. Give me something to work with. And I'll tell candidates when I don't have a budget, I'm like, what are you looking for? I don't have a budget. We haven't figured that out. We're still doing comp analysis. Seize the control, the little control that you have in your job search, have the number ready and be ready to give that answer. And good recruiters will say, hey, that is really under market. This is what I'm going to submit you for. Or they'll say, yeah, that's really out of our price range for what we have budgeted. There's nothing we can do. And if there's nothing we can do, be ready to either walk away from that or say, I'm negotiable. Always, like, if you're negotiable a little bit, say I'm negotiable. I've had to reject candidates where I'm like, guys, we can't do this. You're looking for 200,000 when our budget is 120, which is the market. And then they came back and it's like, well, I'm negotiable now. I'm like, it's an $80,000 difference. That's a lot of money. So.
Perfect. Let's do one last question out of the chat. And then we will let you go. Let's see. Katie had a question. How can someone seeking a job make the best impression in the digital space? So how can they have the best online presence to really stand out? So
I always say, your professional brand is an all-encompassing thing. So online presence is good, especially if you're an engineer. Have like your code on some GitHub, GitLink, something like that, right? Have your presence on there. If you have a portfolio online, there are a lot of websites out there that will let you host your portfolio online. I know WordPress does that too. You can absolutely host your portfolio online. There are portfolio companies that you can input everything. The other thing is, like, be active on LinkedIn. You don't need to create content yourself, but you can engage with recruiters in your digital space, in the space that you're looking for a job. And specifically at the companies you're looking for a job, see if their recruiters post things. Because if they do, and if you engage, you will be on their mind a lot more often than somebody that has never engaged with them. So yeah, social media has brought us all closer together, right? Let's use it to our advantage.
Perfect. That is great advice. And on that note, we have hit the 2:30 mark. So thank you so much to Tejal for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry, we kind of derailed, but really networking is very easy. Go in there and say, here's what I have. Here's what I'm looking for. I see that you have a job. Can we talk about it? It's honestly as simple as this. People make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. So thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. And I wish you all good luck. If anybody wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. I post a lot of content for job seekers on there. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Tejal. And again, reach out to her on LinkedIn. I know we missed a couple questions in the chat. So if you still would like those answered, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn, shoot her an email, shoot her a message, connect with her. She's a great resource. We really appreciate your time, and we are going to let you go. And then the next session will start in 10 minutes. So you can just head back to the schedule, click on that, and we will see you in just a few minutes. Thanks, y'all.